The Electoral College is one of the most questionable aspects of our democracy, even since the beginning of the Constitution. The Constitution says that the Electoral College is the formal body of government that truly elects the president and vice president. It states that each state shall appoint a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which each state may be entitled in Congress. But no senator or representative or person holding of an office under the United States shall be appointed as an elector, according to the Clause 2, Article 2 of Section 1. The Electoral College was essentially a compromise between the ideas of allowing the people to elect the president and the ideas of allowing only senators and representatives of the government to elect the president. This way, both parties will get a say. Now, you may be wondering why the founders believed they needed an electoral college. The founding fathers believed in the idea that Congress deserved the right to elect the president and that people didn't have the knowledge to elect the president directly. So, the people elect officials that best represent their ideas on what qualities a president should have, so the officials can effectively elect the president. Letting the people choose an official also helps cut down on the corruption that would eventually occur during the election of the president.
With the rules of our country's constitution, it is unlikely but very possible that a presidential candidate can win their election even if they lose the popular vote. Essentially, in presidential elections, there are two main vote totals taken, the popular vote and the electoral college vote. In our nation's history, there have been a total of 5 elections when the president that was elected lost the popular vote but won the electoral college vote. Moving on, we are going to look at 2 examples of the electoral college in practice in our history. The election of 1876 between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden was one of the most controversial elections in American history. The winners in South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana were unclear in the end. Tilden won the popular vote. Hayes ended with 185 electoral votes after all 3 of Oregon's votes were given to him, and Tilden ended with 184. Even though Tilden won the popular vote, Hayes was declared the next president 2 days before inauguration with a majority of 1 in the Electoral College vote. The election of 1888 between Grover Cleveland and Benjamin Harrison was the third of 5 U.S. presidential elections where the winner did not win the national popular vote. Just like Tilden, Cleveland won the popular vote. However, Harrison won the electoral vote with 58.1% of the votes. Aside from the swing states of New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Indiana, Cleveland just needed to win the electoral votes from his home state of New York, and he would have won the presidency. The Electoral College determined the outcome of the election, not the popular vote.
And now looking on to see how the Electoral College has affected our country in the present day. We have seen this twice recently. Once in the presidential election of 2000 with George W. Bush versus Al Gore, and again in 2016 with Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. After both of these elections took place and it was revealed that the winner did not actually get the most single votes, there were many angry Americans arguing that this was not fair and the popular vote should be the only total that matters, not the Electoral College total. However, going back to our country's constitution, the reason that the Electoral College was used in the first place was to protect the election from members of the population who generally lacked knowledge about politics and the people they were voting for. It also helped that ensure that the bigger and more populous states could not overrule the smaller ones. However, our country has changed so much since then, and there have been talks about potentially getting rid of the Electoral College as a whole.
The country is divided on the issue of the Electoral College, and the winner-take-all concept is the most controversial aspect. Some believe that since they don't count the votes of the losing candidate, they disenfranchise the voters from that state who didn't vote for the winning candidate in the overall election. There are some proposed alternatives. The first is the popular vote, where the entire country votes in one election and the majority wins. Some complain that this method would give cities the advantage because that's where most of the population lives, and it would also make recounts more difficult because they would involve the entire country versus just the state. Another suggestion is ranked choice voting, which involves voters ranking all of the candidates and those candidates being eliminated in rounds until one gets the majority. This means that voters can now express who they don't want with who they do want. This would allow third-party voters to have more impact because they can put their candidate first but also rank the others. The last option to replace the Electoral College is by voting through congressional districts, where we would keep the electors, but the electors would be divided by who won the individual districts in that state. The system sounds more complicated, but it's already implemented in places like Maine and Nebraska. The controversy over the Electoral College is well deserved. While it might have served the country in the beginning, it doesn't reflect the needs of the people now. The question to the American people is, which do they value more, the Electoral College or their right to an equal vote?